I'm not happy right now. I just read an article that half of Prince's estate, half of his masters, was sold to a private music group by his heirs. So half of everything that he owned is now owned by a private company. And Prince is somebody who fought his whole career for ownership. He sacrificed a whole lot to focus on owning his name, owning his rights, owning everything that he worked for. And now half of everything that he owned is owned by the same type of companies that he was fighting against. And all of that happened because Prince didn't have a will. Prince did not have his estate in order. And we keep talking about generational wealth. We keep talking about generational wealth, and we're not planning for generations. If we're going to be talking about generational wealth, it has to be more than just making the money. Making the money is just the first part, but you have to protect the wealth. You have to protect it. And when you don't have a will, when you don't have an estate plan, when you don't have your affairs in order, you are diminishing your value. And so somebody that was worth hundreds of millions of dollars, now that money is going outside of his family, outside of his generations. And I don't know what they sold it for, but I guarantee you that they sold it for way less than what it's worth. And so when we don't prepare for generations, the next generation has to start over from scratch. When we don't leave a blueprint of protection, of legacy, of assets, the next generation have to start over from scratch. And most of us are not going to have the money or the wealth that Prince had. But how many times do we have to have a GoFundMe meeting to pay for somebody's funeral? How many times do we have to sell the family land because somebody didn't leave a will, and now you got the whole family fighting to get their cut of something? How many times are we going to do that? And now the family has to start over from scratch instead of leaving a foundation of generational wealth and leaving a blueprint of what they desire to happen. We got to have our stuff in order. And so in most families, there's at least one wealth creator, at least one person that is the game changer. And if you that person, you have to look beyond just making the money. You have to look beyond just creating the wealth, and you have to protect it. I cannot tell you how many times that I meet with families or meet with clients and they have not protected their wealth, and somebody dies and that wealth is squandered. Families divided. Land and assets have to be sold to cover bills and taxes just because they didn't have their documents in order. Simple paperwork. And they destroy opportunities for generational wealth. We cannot keep starting over from scratch. Everybody needs to have a will. Everybody needs to have life insurance. Everybody needs to have an estate plan. Everybody needs to have the conversation with their family of what they want their intentions to be. It's not that difficult. We just have to execute it. We have to do it. I'm just tired of seeing it. And I think that we have an opportunity that our parents didn't have. We have an opportunity that our grandparents didn't have. We have wealth creators in every family. At least one. If it's more than that, the opportunity is that much greater. But we have to protect the wealth. We have to protect the generational wealth. You can't just make the money. You have to protect it.